Welcome to Video 2 in Module 3 of ABEJAS. Parasites, pests, and predators that attack honeybee colonies are wide-ranging. While we just covered one of the most detrimental parasites, Varroa, there are other parasites that can detrimentally impact honeybee colonies. This module will be an overview of other parasites, pests, and predators that honeybees encounter. Tracheal mites came to the U.S. from Europe. These mites were a major problem for beekeepers in the U.S. in the 80s. Through diagnostic work that the WSU Bee Program and other labs have done, the observance of tracheal mites has been relatively rare, and mites are passively managed by application of miticides targeted for Varroa control. Tracheal mites enter respiratory holes, called spiracles, on an adult bee's body. Close bee-to-bee proximity encourages transmission. In a severe infection, a bee's breathing tubes, called trachea, are full of microscopic mites, and the bees can't breathe well. Consequently, the bee doesn't get oxygen to its muscles and can't fly, hence the name crawling disease. Although the occurrence of tracheal mites is relatively infrequent now, if you see many bees crawling around the entrance of a hive or on the bottom board, it could be due to tracheal mite infestation. Small hive beetles have been a common honeybee pest in the U.S. since the early 2000s. These beetles consume honey, pollen, wax, developing bees, dead bees, and can even trick the bees into feeding them directly. The larvae of these beetles carries a yeast that causes honey to ferment, which can lead to bees absconding the hive and the beekeeper losing their honey crop. Colonies kept in regions with warm, humid climates are more prone to hive beetle issues. The best defense against small hive beetles is maintaining strong colonies and clean apiaries. You can prevent infestation by removing deadouts or unprotected boxes of extra comb with honey and pollen in your apiary. Avoid tossing burr comb around hives. Place hives in partial or full sun, since adult beetles prefer shady locations. Other practices include combining weak colonies together, keeping colonies queen-right, providing smaller quantities of pollen patties in areas with high beetle pressure, and not giving the bees more hive space than they need. Inspect equipment for hive beetle damage before moving it to other bee yards. Various traps are available that capture small hive beetles, such as those that fit inside the hive or are placed around the apiary. These traps may help reduce beetle numbers. There are specific insecticides registered for small hive beetles. They should be used cautiously and according to the manufacturer's instructions to avoid harming bees or contaminating honey. Wax moths can cause significant damage to honeybee hives and stored equipment. Wax moth larvae feed on beeswax, honey, and sometimes bee larvae. Their feeding destroys the comb structure, which is crucial for brood rearing and food storage. They produce silk webbing and create tunnels within the comb. This webbing can obstruct the hive and complicate the bee's normal activities. Signs of infestation include the presence of silk webbing on combs or inside the hive. Holes and tunnels in the comb where the larvae have been feeding. Dark granular feces on combs or in the hive. Uncapped brood cells where the heads of pupae are exposed in a line. or fine powdery sawdust-like material from the larvae chewing through the wax. Strong colonies are the best defense against wax moths, as the bees will defend their space. Throw away wax moth damaged combs and remove dead colonies from bee yards. Frames with wax moth damage can be frozen for 24 to 48 hours to kill any moth eggs or larvae present. Storing empty frames and combs in sealed containers or in a cold environment can prevent wax moths from infesting stored equipment. Paramoth dichlorobenzene is a registered chemical moth deterrent that can be used to avoid moth infestation in stored comb. If wax moth is already present in combs, fumigating with weevil-side aluminum phosphide will kill all larvae and adult moths. However, this restricted use pesticide must be used with great caution and always according to labeled instructions. Not all wasps threaten honeybee colonies, but some are carnivorous predators that can kill bees and rob honey. Learn to identify physical differences between honeybees and wasps or hornets to spot issues. One of the most common predatory wasps are called yellow jackets. Yellow jackets are often mistaken for honeybees because of their size and coloring pattern, having yellow and black stripes. However, yellow jackets are more aggressive and brighter yellow. During certain times of year, when the yellow jackets are more prevalent, you will likely see them attacking and eating honeybees. Yellow jackets are carnivorous and feed on insects to provide protein for their larvae, but they also are attracted to carbohydrates like sugar syrup. Yellow jackets usually nest underground. Only the queen overwinters when she picks a site for creating a nest. Then she produces workers in early summer. Controlling the number of nests near an apiary can help lower the chances of heavy infestations. Placing yellow jacket traps out early in spring can kill a queen before she creates a prolific nest. Mammals can cause direct or indirect damage to the bees in a honeybee colony and the hive the bees live in. Small rodents like mice might invade hives to seek shelter or warmth, inadvertently causing stress to the bees or damaging the hive by chewing or soiling the frames. Mammals may be inclined to snack on honeybees or honey. Bears are notorious for breaking into hives to feed on both honey and bee brood. They can cause significant damage to colonies and hives in their search for food. Some mammals, such as skunks, badgers, or raccoons, may raid beehives for honey and bee brood as well. Skunks can be particularly troublesome because they often approach hives at night and can use their strong claws to pry open hive boxes. Skunks will also sit outside a hive and scratch to draw out bees to consume. Protecting beehives from mammals often involves using barriers like electric fences, elevating hive boxes, or employing other deterrents to minimize the impact of these pests on honeybee colonies and equipment. Managing pests is vital to maintaining healthy bee colonies, ensuring rich honey production, supporting economic viability, and preserving the ecological role of bees. Effective parasite, pest, and predator management practices help beekeepers maintain strong, productive colonies. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment below to let us know what additional topics you would like us to cover in future videos.